Podcast 25. Chris can't count that high.
25. If I take off my shoes, I can
Are you
count that high.
are you 25 years old?
Yeah, twice over.
Twice, sir.
Plus
You're
a
50.
couple plus a couple fingers.
You're 50.
Plus a couple fingers.
How old are you?
I will be 52 in October.
Ooh, you're old.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
gonna be able, you gonna be able to do this sicka hunt we were just talking about?
Ah, I should.
All right. Well,
As long as we don't have to get the bike out of first gear.
yeah. So everybody listening, Chris lives in PA. I live in Maryland, and in Maryland we got sicka deer hunting, and I think Chris is going to come down this year and try to bust a cap in a sicka buck, a 90-pound sicka buck.
That'd be a good one, right? 90 pound.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah,
I'm
with
gonna
about
bust a 60 pounder,
with about four-inch antlers on it.
4-inch spikes. So
Actually,
gotta have so many points.
uh, no, just two.
Just
Um,
two, as long as there's over
so
three
they,
inches or something.
yep. So they come up, and then it'll have a point, and then it'll come up again, and it could have a point. So if you shoot a 6-point sicka buck, you're famous.
Trophy.
You're famous.
Hmm.
So they're in the swamps down there, and I'm excited.
Hmm.
You excited?
I'm not sure because you said there's lots of bugs. I don't know if I'm real excited yet.
If it's damp and rainy, there will be bugs, but the famous thermocell will protect you.
Oh,
I went last year and there wasn't much bugs. We actually had really, really good weather. It was really cold in the morning,
hmm.
but it kind of warmed up in the afternoon a little bit. But excellent, excellent weather.
I'll just bank for that then.
Sunny, awesome. We heard bugles and bugles and bugles. They're just
First
like
first one I hear, my hair is gonna stand up on end.
it does. You will hear bugles all morning long as the sun rises, and then all afternoon.
Hmm.
You will hear bugles every day because
Crazy,
that is the peak rut of Sika.
crazy.
So what's up? What's up with food plots this week? Do anything?
I really haven't done a thing because I was waiting on that rain, and we finally started getting rain.
We did.
So,
It poured here yesterday and today.
yep, same here, and I'm happy about that.
Hmm.
I was afraid to actually put the turf tires in the clover. I was afraid that it was so dry that it would pull it out. So I just stayed off of it. I did
Hmm.
my spraying a couple weeks ago. It's ready to be clipped though.
Cool.
Had some turkeys in the yard. Got some pictures of a couple gobblers. They still have hens
Nice.
with them.
Nice.
Why? Why? Why do they still have hens with them?
Turkeys wiped you out this year.
I gave up on them. I surrendered.
You
I
quit.
waved a I waved a white flag.
You're a quitter.
Them hens whooped me.
You quit. You quit because of a turkey.
I did.
How's that make you feel?
Gobble gobble.
Gobble gobble. Um.
I switched to
So
fish.
yeah, I know you quit turkey, switch to fish.
Hmm.
I quit fishing because I have other stuff to do, but I'm getting back into it here shortly. A lot of stuff going on. But anyway, podcast 25, and I'm gonna stir the pot.
He's gonna
We're gonna
stir it up.
we're gonna stir the pot, and
You're, you're controversial.
yep, we're gonna jump into a topic that's very controversial, and I'm gonna give my honest opinion on it from 25 years of deer hunting and consulting on people's property for the last 4 years, and let's talk about it. And that's the famous dough factory.
Dough factory.
Yep, you've heard of it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
it's
I'm creating them right now because I have clover plots in the summer.
you're doing it wrong. In all honesty, I'm going to give everybody my honest opinion about this, and I'm going to tell you what I think's happening, and whether it's good or bad. So the whole dough factory thing is when you have summer food, you plant food plots, and you attract does in the summer, and it pushes the bucks off. You have too many does, and then it pushes the bucks away. Well, that's not true in my opinion. Bucks will come and go all the time. You have some bucks that some are on your property and some that don't. So I'm sure you see it all the time too, like depending, where you're hunting at, but you'll see bucks all summer long, and all of a sudden the fall comes around and they kind of leave, but then you'll attract different ones.
Yeah.
So from what I've noticed is that if you do see those bucks in the summer on your property, some of them do tend to leave, but as long as that property has food and no, low pressure, they will come back, because that's what happened to the buck 210 that I shot last year. Had him on trail camera all summer long, had summer food, and he left for like 3 weeks or something. Came back and I shot him. 4 weeks, I think he left. But the whole idea is planting this summer food and attracting doe family groups, and everything, and it just all of a sudden pushes the bucks away. What's happening is you have two different scenarios. In one, think of the farm me and you hunted. You have a big wood setting. Me and you were the only ones within miles of that property that were doing any type of habitat improvement, right?
As far as we know, yeah.
Yep. So if you were a deer in a big woods closed canopy forest, and all of a sudden you have this 100-acre property, and we're making all types of habitat improvements, and that property has the best food, where are you going to go?
Yeah, I'm going
Y-
for the buffet.
You're going to go there. You're going to attract does. You're going to attract buck. You're going to attract all kinds of deer. We had 15 does in a food plot at one time, and
Sometimes more.
sometimes more, and we had all kinds of bucks. Didn't
Yeah.
push them off. I mean, we saw bucks and had bucks all the time. Now, in agricultural areas, it's less common that you'll have a doe factory, because you have food everywhere. So they're not just going to be focused in on one little half-acre plot where you got 15 deer in a half-acre plot, because there's quality food everywhere. So those deer can be spread out throughout that area. Um, but here's what's happening is that it's kind of like it's man-made, because you're improving the habitat and you're attracting deer. If we didn't do anything, those deer could be spread out all over the place, and you wouldn't have the appearance of a doe factory. So does, yes, does like to bed close to food. That's true. But when you create that bedding close to food, and all of a sudden those deer are right there, the does are bedding close to that food. They only have to move 50, 100 yards. Boom, they're in the food plot. You have all kinds of bedding close to food. You have the best food. All of a sudden you have 10, 15 does in a food plot, because the bedding is close by and you have the food. You have the appearance of a doe factory, right? But it doesn't mean that it pushes the bucks away. But this appearance of too many does could be a quality control, you know, or a balance number. An area can only really handle so many deer per square
I
mile.
was I was I was waiting to make that comment, but I might as well say it now then.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that it's relative to the areas that you're in,
100%.
according to your buck to doe ratio. You
Hmm.
know, you're saying, not you saying, but people are saying that it pushes bucks off. You you may not have bucks in the area. You know,
Hmm.
they might be there, they might be gone. Who knows?
Yeah.
And how are you making this comparison? I mean, did they take inventory of all these bucks that they had and then all of a sudden they disappeared? If they did, that sounds like a situation that they've got pushed off. Not
Hmm.
Why would a doe push a buck off?
Right.
You
Now
know,
I can see, for instance, like if you have a big woods area where you're the only one doing that habitat improvement, I've the way I see it is you should have a larger food plot, because you're going to spread out, or you're going to attract a lot of deer, and does you ever see a picture, a trail camera picture or something, you got a bunch of does together, they start pawing each other. Well, are they playing or are they aggravated with each other? You know what I mean? Like,
And
so kind of like social pressure. So the does, you know, kind of get frustrated, but if you have a larger food plot, they can spread themselves out.
yes,
But does fighting or pushing a buck off, like I have never ever
I've
like,
I've never seen a buck run from a doe.
no,
Uh,
it's does running from does or a buck nudging a doe.
but I get what they're saying. They're pressuring does or they're pressuring bucks to feel uncomfortable in a setting with all the other deer.
Hmm.
But as I said, I don't think a mature buck is gonna give leadway to a doe. Um, yeah, that's my opinion. And then the doe thing you said, like they're batting at each other. Yeah, they're family oriented, and
Hmm.
when one gets too close to their, just like you on the street,
Yeah.
if you go on vacation, you're walking down the boardwalk, you and your family, and some hoodlum walks in between you, you're like, yo, whoa, hey, yeah, get the guy's attention. He's, oh, I'm sorry, you know.
Right.
It's the same thing with the deer.
Yeah.
They have their own groups, their own cliques, and that's who
Hmm.
they run with. And if you get inside that circle, you're getting batted
Yeah.
with the front hooves
Yep.
from one of the other mothers.
But to sum it up, it's a man-made issue. Like we create that issue or appearance because we're doing the habitat improvements. If you didn't do a habitat improvement on your property, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see 15 does in an area because you don't have that food plot there to concentrate them to a specific area.
Right.
So it's a man-made situation. Um, Not that it's a bad thing. I mean, if you do improvements and stuff and food plots and things like that, but it all it's just it's a funny
Yeah, but
topic,
why you planting food plots in the first place?
right? To
You're
attract deer,
attracting deer.
right?
You're attracting deer, and the more you can attract, that's wonderful if you have enough food to feed them. Okay,
Hmm.
now, okay, fast forward to the rut. Well, where the does are at, guess what comes next? The bucks come sniffing around the does. So
Hmm.
eventually, those bucks that you think you spooked off are going to come out of their recluse hiding. Whether they got pushed off by a doe or if you pressured them and they hid, or just the sexual arousal. That time of rut is coming and they're coming out to to date the women.
Yeah,
So where you have the does, the bucks will come. I think it's all bogus.
I think it's bogus too. I mean, you can continue the conversation with, you know, does can handle more pressure, more human pressure. Like we can spook a does and they come right back.
Yes,
A big buck is not going to do that. So all
correct.
of this runs in together. So yeah, if you have a lot of food in your property, you have a high deer number in the area because you're in a big wood setting and nobody else is doing improvements, then you have more does on your property and there's more potential of spooking them, which then could spook a buck. So it's just again, it's a man-made appearance.
Yep.
It's a man-made appearance. It's not a bad thing. We had shoot, I think me and we counted what, 22, 23 does in a food plot with like 8 or 10 different bucks. Um, Shoot, that time you were hunting with me in the lucky stand in the
Hmm.
clover plot, and that buck came out, and the one I missed,
Yeah.
shot
Yep.
with my bow. I mean, how many
Hmm.
deer were out in the field?
There's plenty, plenty
Dozen,
of deer.
a dozen does, and but in that situation, it was a big wood setting, and it was a 3 acre field.
Hmm.
So that buck, yeah, he did come out from the corner by himself. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But there was other deer in that food plot.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
So I think it's all bogus. I don't know if it's a,
Yeah. And how many nights did we get stuck in that stand and, you know, we had to wait till it was blackout or you had to get your phone out and play coyote singing noises
Yeah.
to get their attention and spook them off just so we can get down,
Yeah, because
you know?
it was a big destination field,
Yeah, and
you
that
know?
and that proves another thing that, like you were just saying about spooking them. Yeah, the does will put up with that pressure. You can bump them off and they'll come back, but
Mhm.
like you said, if you're after a big boy, you don't wanna get down before dark and start walking across the field.
No.
He could be standing on the edge getting taught where you just was sitting, and
Mhm.
he'll avoid that spot next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it
You're just learning them.
yeah, it's a wild deer. I mean, each
Mm.
each deer is gonna have a different personality. I mean, what happens when a deer comes to the edge of a field? What's he do? He
Stops,
comes to the
stares.
edge, looks around, checks things out a little bit. He might
Yeah.
see a doe over there, or doe here, whatever. Then he slowly comes out. I mean,
Mhm.
does kind of do that too. They're coming into an open area. It's danger. You know,
Yeah.
it- they're not. There's no cover. Um, but that's my honest opinion about it because I've been asked about it a lot. I actually have a video about this that I made like 2 years ago, and I said the same things. Like it's a man-made issue. Um, or I shouldn't say issue. It's not an issue. It's just a man-made appearance. We create what is called a so-called dough factory. But
Yeah, but how many hay fields do you go past? There's no food plot out there, but it's a wide open field and it's full of deer.
mhm,
I mean, it but since you put a food plot in, you created a problem.
right,
No, it
yeah.
it's
And
a bunch of bull,
what's the difference if if you have a food plot in the summer or a food plot in the fall?
right? You're
You know what I
attracting
mean?
them.
You're attracting them both ways.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, yeah, if the food's there in the summer, the does are kind of there. They might find they might change their home range a little bit, and they might find that area home. But then so they're there ready to eat your fall food plot.
So do they
But
call it a dough factory in the fall? You know what I'm saying?
right, I think it's just a terminology that to just create controversy and I don't
Right.
know. But I've been deer hunting for 25 years. I've planted food plots for 20 years, and I've never had a problem like that.
What about putting on a deer mineral spot?
Yeah,
Are you creating a dough factory or a buck factory or anything like that around a
right.
mineral site?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just something silly. It's not even a real thing. Let's put it that way. It's
I
a
don't
joke.
think I
It's a
I think I think it's an appearance. I
You're
mean,
funneling deer into a situation where they feed, whether
yeah,
it be a buck or a doe. When
hmm
they get hungry, they're going to visit that site.
hmm
Period.
yeah.
Period.
Does
You're
can fight with each other, but and a buck can kind of nudge a doe, but I've never seen a doe specifically like like push a buck off. Now, if you're there, if a buck and doe is there, sometimes if a doe or something hears a noise and that doe kind of jerks, then that buck's going to be on alert. That's a different situation though. But just because you have does there doesn't mean that buck's not going to feed in the same area.
Yeah. I don't. It's kind of silly anyhow. What are you worried about?
Right.
You
Exactly.
know,
What are you worried about?
I don't know what they're worried about.
Yeah.
You're planning a plot to funnel deer into it.
Right.
To me, that's success. That's not dough factory. Why is it a big warning sign?
hmm
They should be happy their plot's getting used.
Yeah. I see your buddy has a lot of videos about doe factories.
Which buddy's that?
Uh,
The guy with the whiteboard.
no,
Oh,
deer hunting,
uh,
deer deer and deer hunting. What's the guy's
who's
name?
over there? There's Bartella.
Bartella.
He
He's got
don't
a lot.
like dough factories.
I know. I'm just saying he has a lot of videos about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's totally against it. He
Yeah, he's
speaks
against
out.
it.
He speaks out against it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that because I had like two or three comments about that or this week.
Mhm.
And it's funny. I was talking to a guy on the phone about it. An old client. that I went to, he was asking me. He called just say, "What's your opinion about this?" I
Huh.
said, "Well, you got summer food?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." I said, "You got a dough factory?" He's like, "I don't think so. I got bucks and does out there all the time."
Yeah.
I said, "What are you calling? What are you asking me for then?"
I speaking of which, in the feed plot behind camp the other night, Saturday night, as a matter of fact. Um, it was a busy weekend. There was lots of the people out front were at their camps and
Mhm,
things, and I had that big long strip of clover there. And you've been here and sat around the fire with me and watched deer come in, and they're like 30 yards from us.
mhm,
Well, they started filtering out of the woods one after another. I had 8 doe, and the last one to come out was a buck. I had 9 deer in the plot, and
mhm,
he was just almost as wide as his ears. He's going to be a good up and comer for next year.
mhm,
Uh, but a pretty decent buck, and I mean, I had music playing, the fire going, you know, and the neighbors out front, they had a bunch of people up in the fire going, but the deer came right in between us, and they went through my plot and stopped and ate for a while. And when they got tired of that, they moved on. And yeah, so I created a dough factory in my backyard.
yep. I just want to say one more thing about it, and then I'm going to shut up about it. But typically, like if you can have like 20 to 30 deer per square mile, that square mile of habitat can usually handle that many deer.
Yeah.
You're going to have enough forage, you're going to have enough, food for them. When you start getting above that, when you're in areas, where they're building houses and they're pushing all the deer close together, then that number goes up per square mile, but your food level goes down. So it's the same with us people, hunters doing habitat improvement. Again, so you could have, just say you have a square mile and you have 30 deer within that square mile. All of a sudden, again, you are the only one that's putting in a food plot. What are those 30 deer going to do? They're going to come to your food plot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're going to have the appearance of a doe factory. It's not a doe factory. You just attracted all the deer in the woods because nobody else is doing anything. And that's where all the deer, you have the best quality food. That's where deer search for. They pick the best and leave the rest, like a cow.
Well,
Um,
let me be devil's advocate here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What you got?
Okay. Okay. If you think you have a dough factory, maybe you ought to check into your woods line. Maybe you don't have any browse in your woods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're just coming for your plot.
Mm-hmm.
Something to think about. Maybe your woods are so crappy that you need to do improvements on your property to get your browse correct.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought.
Yeah, and
Now, here's something else. Just not.
he's thinking.
I'm changing gears a little bit, but when I still lived in Pittsburgh and we had a camp when I was a teenager, we used to go spotting in the area that I live now.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, I'm talking 100 years ago, uh, when we went spotting, like each field had 40, 50 deer in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see hundreds and hundreds of deer if you rode around for an hour. And that was like the highlight of the weekend, man. We used to, as teenagers, we'd get mom or somebody to ride us around. We'd have the spotlight up, hanging out the window. Man, it was crazy, crazy. And we never had problems supporting the deer, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, all the agriculture's gone. All the old farmers are dead, or they just don't farm anymore. They handed it down to another generation and they quit farming.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you go hunting, and the population did go away for a while, and now it's rebounding to the point that the game commission's starting to worry about it again and allocating more doe tags. Now when you get around, you're lucky you see 15 deer in those fields that I seen 50 deer in.
When I was a kid down Eastern Shore, there used to be a place called Remington Farms. My parents used to go there when they were kids. They took me and my sister and stuff. We would ride through the park. you would see 200 deer, and it was does, bucks, fawns, big bucks, giant bucks, small bucks, all feeding in the same field.
Hmm.
What
Yeah,
happened? It was a doe factory.
it was.
So
Somebody created that.
yeah, it's just the appearance. Just because they're there doesn't mean anything. So hopefully that gives us,
No.
people are my perspective, your perspective on it, and
Yeah, like I said, it's all relative to where you're at.
it is
How much
big
agriculture's there,
big
uh,
woods.
the lack thereof,
Hmm.
how much browse is in the woods,
Yep.
and how big your plots are, if they're handling it,
Hmm.
that type of thing. Um, yeah, palatability at that point in time of the year that they say that they see the deer. You know,
Hmm.
what if you got a well, what if you have spring and summer plot out and all this drought hit and your clover's all burned up? Is that still a doe factory
Right.
because you have clover planted there and it's burned out? Or
Hmm.
how about mine? It's beautiful right now, but the same amount of deer in there every night.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I have a doe factory.
You have a doe problem.
I
You just
do.
won't admit it.
Yeah.
All right. Second gear, you have a question that somebody asked
Yeah.
you to talk about.
I'm not going to read it word for word, but on our last video, we had a commenter by the channel name of Fur Hollow, and I forget what the last word was. What did I say it was? Fur Hollow.
Mike or something for Hello Mike.
I better just look it up. Let's get it right.
You have a bad memory.
I do. It was Fur
For
Hollow.
Hollow Ranch or
I'll get
for
it here.
Hollow Mike.
I will get it. I will pull it up so we get this right, because the dude will be mad.
You're gonna trigger him.
Yep. Let's see.
Turn that volume off.
Fur Hollow Homestead.
There you go.
Yeah, Fur Hollow Homestead.
Don't
Now,
trigger. Don't trigger him now.
he wants to know. He said he saw a video of us in the past or heard us talk in the past about hack and squirt.
Ooh.
He's interested in the hack and squirt. Um,
You
Nothing specific. He just wanted to know some information.
want me to go
N-
first? You want to go first?
You can go first because, well, go ahead. You go. You can start.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your
Yeah. Go ahead.
experience with it?
I think it has a place, time and place for it, just like anything else.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. I wouldn't go into an area and just all of a sudden hack and squirt every tree. I think that's silly, depending on your habitat. So I see it used in instances where, say, you are doing some TSI work, you're cutting some trees down to put structure on the ground, but yet you still need a little bit more canopy open up. So then you rather just hack and squirt a tree to kill that tree standing, the leaves fall off to allow more sunlight come in, because there comes a point where you can just put too much debris logs on the ground to where it's just too thick and a deer can't maneuver through.
Hmm.
So I liked it for that type of situation, or say you have a small area around a food plot where you just want to hack and squirt a couple of trees around that food plot to get you some more sunlight. Maybe you don't feel comfortable, cutting the tree down. I see it used. I think it's used like way too much. Like uh, like I highly respect Grant Woods,
Yeah.
but I think he's a hack and squirt nutcase. You know, I think he just goes crazy with the hack and squirt, and it may work out there where he's at, but like he focuses on that because of the green growth that you get. You're not disturbing nothing. You're just hacking, squirting. He's burning, and you have all that green growth. But what happens when the green growth is gone in the harsher winters that we have here? Then the deer have no food. So when you're constantly burning, you're setting back the woody browse, and woody browse is a huge part of a deer's diet.
Mm.
So it may work down in the south where you have green growth year round, but where me and you are at, PA, in the northeast and things, and uh, Midwest and stuff like that, we need woody browse to feed the deer during the winter time.
I just had this thought. It just popped when you was talking about it. It just popped in my head, and not beating Grant up because he's an intelligent guy.
Heck yeah.
I like him. Um, but when you was saying this, it just popped in my head that he does all this no-till stuff and things because he doesn't like to use chemicals. He said he will use chemicals if things get out of hand,
Hmm.
and he will use them. Um, but he doesn't like to use chemicals on his food plots. But he's more than more than able and willing to poison the trees and kill them with
Hmm.
chemicals.
Right.
I just thought of that now. I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? You're right. He is a hack and squirt nut when it comes to that crap.
He is, and I don't like when he goes to all these properties and all he recommends is hack and squirt,
Yeah.
like on everything. It's like chill. Like,
Well, okay. Are you finished?
uh,
You said everything you want to say.
I'm done.
Okay, he's done.
I'm calm. I'm calm.
Okay, okay. What I was gonna say was when he suggests that to someone, they might not be experienced at it and knowledgeable. Because I'll tell you my experience now. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I tried some of it at my house here because I have a situation where I have some plots down in the woods that
Situation.
I hunt over down here, and uh, I had to thin the woods out pretty good just to get the plots in and be able to get the implements down there to
Hmm.
make these plots. But I did not. I did not like. I did not like thinning the woods out too much. So, but I wanted to open the canopy and I didn't want to drop too many trees because it looked totally bare down there. And sometimes when the deer come to the plot, like you can tell some of them are too nervous because it's too open.
Hmm.
So I opted to go hack and squirt to open the canopy. And the problem lies with when you tell someone to do that, if you don't explain it well enough, bigger trees, you have to put a lot of hacks and squirt a lot of of the herbicide to
Hmm.
get that tree to die. Sys- uh, yeah, what's the word? Systemically.
Hmm.
That's what I was trying to say. So if it's a bigger tree, you really need to put a lot of hacks around that thing, okay?
Well,
Because when I
I,
first went down, I put a
yep,
couple hacks in it,
yeah,
squirted it, and nothing happened after a year. And I'm like,
yep,
what the heck? So I
yeah.
went back the next year and I got real aggressive with it. I even took down a cordless drill with a huge arbor bit, and I hauled this huge hole in it, and I just squirted it full. I went down on an angle, and I just filled it up with herbicide, and that did do a better job, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's not actually a hack and squirt, but it was a drill and fill. Let's call it that.
I found that on the bigger trees, girdling the tree and then
Mm,
squirting the herbicide in the girdle
okay, yeah.
works a lot better. When me and TJ were at the new farm last 2 weekends ago, we
Hmm.
revisited the bedding area I made back on the ridge last year, and all the trees that we girdled and then squirt in RTU, which is
Hmm.
just ready to use herbicide. It's pre-mixed. It's got like
Right.
3 different herbicides in it, I believe. All those trees were dead,
Okay.
and I um opted to hack and squirt them or girdle them and squirt them
Hmm.
because I had already hinge cut and cut trees down on the
So you had
ground.
stuff laying debris wise.
Right. And it was, I just looked at it and I was like, okay, if I cut this tree, and this tree, it's going to be too thick on the ground
Hmm.
with logs. I'd rather just hack and squirt the tree just for the additional sunlight, let that
Yeah.
tree stay standing so I don't make it too thick.
Now that was my experience. I didn't want to thin the woods out anymore.
Hmm.
I wanted to, you know, open up the canopy though, and it's situational to size of the tree, how many hacks and squirts or girdle. When you girdle, you have to go in past the cambium layer at least.
Inch and a half or so.
At least I like to go two. if
Mhm.
I can. And then there's certain herbicides, other herbicides you can use too. There's like Tordon, I guess you could use that.
Well,
That
RTU has Tordon in it.
RTU. Okay,
Yeah.
that RTU you're talking about is another good one.
I think it's
Um,
Tordon triclopyr, I think, and one something
that's
else.
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is situational. Now the other time that I could think that I would actually suggest it to someone is like if they had an area timbered out and it was like clear cut and you got all these birch trees coming back, and it just is like a total oasis of saplings, and if you're not going to go in there, if the saplings are too big just to go in there and just obliterate them, you could do a hack and squirt on some of those and selectively, you know, take some trees out that way, because obviously it's more advantageous to do the hack and squirt on smaller trees and more predictable, I should say, too.
Mhm. We get a
You,
better kill.
yeah, you're gonna get a kill on those little smaller trees by the hack and squirt method, rather than, like I said, taking a tree that's you know 18 2 foot round and put a couple hacks and squirts in it.
Mhm.
I mean, I even girdled a couple down here on my property, and I didn't even get them deep enough. You know, so they still are standing living. You know, eventually I'll go down and I'll wrap the saw back around them and squirt them. But yeah, I did it a couple years ago, and I didn't understand it fully, so I
Yeah.
didn't follow through correctly. So there. I
Yeah.
mean, if you don't know, I'm sure there's lots of videos out there, but there again, that's why we're talking about it now, to try to, through our experiences, educate.
Yeah, I think it has a time and place, and I don't
For sure.
recommend it or even do it myself very often, but
Yeah,
it
me neither.
does maybe, like I said, down south, warmer climates, I could see it having a beneficial effect where you don't want to cut the tree. You just want to
Yeah.
kill it standing,
Yep.
allow that sunlight to come in. You get a flush of green growth. Um, and that's what deer, you could have 10, 11 months of green growth. Me and you on the Northeast and Midwest and stuff through that area, we don't have that.
No.
Our green growth is gone by what, end of October?
Mid October sometimes.
Yeah, depending on frost and things. And then
Yeah.
we're without green from November, December, January, February, March,
March.
and April. You kind of start getting a little bit of the honeysuckles start greening up and
Yeah.
um
Start getting rebound in your plots with the
right.
clover and the
Yep.
greens.
So we're deficient in greens for 5 months.
Mm,
So that time of year we need the woody browse. So fires for us are not beneficial very often because it sets back the woody browse part.
mm.
So Hackett Square has a place.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. It does
Nope.
work.
But for Hollow Homestead, I hope that answers your question or you found something interesting in that. Thanks for uh the questions and comments on the
We gave
videos,
it to him
folks.
in a couple different
Yeah,
things for him to think about
for sure.
because we don't know where he's located.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
um,
keep the questions coming. Keep watching. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. You can get over to my channel, City Sticker Chris, and listen and
mhm,
watch the podcast. And how's the uh, how's the listening end going on the listening platforms?
still going up,
Still rising up, so
still
that's
rising.
good. People are listening, and we appreciate it. That's episode 25, guys.
Yeah, I had a birthday. I'm 29 or 39. I'm old, and
He is.
you're a fisherman, Chris, and I'm 1 year older
Yes. 25 in the books. Thanks for having us. Listen in next week.
on
See ya.
26.
We out.
26.
We out.
Later.